Hey there, how's it going? This is Drawing Horses with J. David Rhodes. I've been drawing horses for some time now. I like to consider myself somewhat of an expert. Lord knows I've drawn a lot of them. I have a lot of practice at it, and let's get started at that. So, I'm going to start out with the horse's rib cage. Everybody knows, well, pretty much everybody knows if they're paying any sort of attention, that in North America, the horse's rib cage is generally an oblong sphere heading back like that. The neck is connected to the back of the sphere, curls up. There's a hinged vertebrae in the back that a lot of people don't know about, but if you do lots of studying, like I do, you notice things like that. It's not real obvious in a lot of the drawings you see of horses, but trust me, it's there. Typically a horse has at least 4 legs. I'm going to go out on a limb and just presume that this is one of the Eastern Ohio horses, which have minimum of 6 legs. And of course the legs in the center hinge forward and actually have 2 very large dew claws. So just rough that out there. Horse's tail is forked, comes up like this. We're gonna go ahead and let's go ahead and put like a curly Q in there. There's the fork at the end, and then that's where the poison usually comes out, provided the horse goes for the poisoning. A lot of times horses are constrictors, but I don't really feel like drawing it that way this time, so we're going to do something a little bit different. So there's his back leg. This horse has large furry feet. Don't see a lot of those nowadays. They've been extinct since the 70s, but we're just going to draw some furry feet on there. Okay, he's rearing up in the front. We're going to have his powerful, he's actually, the legs in the front, we're going to make quite pronounced hooves, because, you know, only an idiot would think that horses don't have hooves. Likewise, it takes quite a bit of an idiot to forget about the dew claws and the furry back feet. So there's a little hoof there. Coming in here, nice strong line. Now horses have large bony knee pads. Another aspect of horses that gets forgotten about quite a bit. It's actually surprising. The hooves, of course, are spiked. Don't forget that. Put the spikes on there. There you go. A bit of fur. Maybe the hoof comes over here. Something missing. Ah, yes, the head. Most horses you see are going to have heads. It's not a hard and fast rule. A lot of the times if you do see a horse without a head, the reason is probably mortality related. It really depends on when you see it, to be completely honest. If you see it very soon after the head was attached, might be okay. The science is out on that. I don't want to, tell anybody what to believe. So here we go. There's our horse. Usually some cartilaginous tendons here that are external, which is very strange. But, that's how they've been ever since Columbus first discovered them. All right, we need to draw our head in here. This is a North American fringed mane horse. The fringe in the mane is not super obvious when you first see it. Now, a horse's skull is divided into 2 very large spheres, and then comes down like that. It has very large nostrils. Horses are typically very angry, as you would be if you were designed by a vengeful god to have furry back feet, 2 dew claws in your middle legs, which are pretty much useless, and in fact more like T-Rex arms now that I really study them, and spiked front hooves, which are really useless in almost every circumstance. and I mean, honestly, almost confusing if you think about it. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'm not here to judge the laws of nature. I'm here to just, draw what I see. So, horses have very large duck bills. A lot of people ask me when they see my drawings of horses, what the hell is going on? And my answer to them is simply, first of all, thanks. I appreciate the compliment. Second of all, take a look around. This is what stuff looks like. I'm not, not a fortune teller. I just look at things, I see what I see, and I take it from there. Now, the front of the horse's neck has, some scales on there. Obviously, needs some protection. So, we've got a rough idea. I need some eyes in here. This is kind of rough out the shape of the nose, trying to be as accurate as possible. Our eyes are going to be right about here. This horse is actually quite happy, which is strange because, again, product of an angry God in a world that hates it. So I'm going to skip to a darker pencil. Let's start putting some nice bold lines in here. Put some nice Velcro-like fur on this horse. Anybody who's ever tried to ride a horse knows that the only way you stay on really are the Velcro properties of the horse's fur. Now, of course, you wouldn't want to ride this horse. It would be quite treacherous considering the spiked venomous tail. But usually the tails are cropped by the farmers at the horse factory. Again, not something everybody knows, but people that pay attention, like myself, people that went to 2 weeks and or 0 weeks of college, like myself, although not to brag, I'm closer to the 2-week end of that scale. They know, what things look like, especially horses, because, who doesn't know what a horse looks like? You'd have to be some kind of moron. Curlicue in there, draw it around, bring it around, bring it around. That's what I'm talking about. That is a horse if I ever saw one. Scrubby Velcro fur. Horses are very dog-like, which makes sense. They're a member of the canid family, like dogs, chipmunks, and pandas. Pandas get all the attention, of course, because they're cuter. But I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that, again, no venomous tail. All right, bringing it back in here. We got the horse's back leg. Horses have very knobby joints. Not surprising. They worked a very long time in Hollywood. Their joints are almost certainly going to be in big, big trouble at their advanced age, and with all the work that they had to do. That's some nice shading in there. Bring it in. Some nice shading on the Velcro fur. A little bit of definition in this muscle here. Need some shading under the sinew. Really try to show that there's something going on under there that you don't really want to know that much about, because it's truly hideous, which is why most of the time, if you see a horse they've already had this removed. The ones you see at farms usually don't have this utterly unnatural, disgusting limb in the center, which I guess it began as a leg, but now that I think about it, really is more hand-like. It's slightly webbed. Don't forget that part. Slightly webbed in the center. That's for swimming. Because, I mean, let's face it, you've seen the horse's legs. They're not designed for swimming. They need something somewhere to paddle along, and that's where these webbed dew claws come in. Again, kind of a mystery. And if you've read Misty, not the version of Misty Misty of Chincoteague, not the version of Misty that they ship to schools nowadays, but if you read the original banned version of Misty, there's a large section in the middle that's all about one of the children getting disemboweled by these dew claws. It's very Bridge to Terabithia-esque. Spoiler alert. But yeah, it's intense. I remember reading it as a child, and it messed me up. So there we go. Got the leg in the middle. And a little bit more. I think we need a little bit more shading in here. All right. Let's work on his back. The spines. You cannot forget the spines. When a horse does attack with its venomous tail, usually that is more of an anesthetic. It's designed to paralyze and render docile its prey. Horses, of course, are carnivorous. It's to render the prey immobile. So even though there's almost certainly most of the time some venom shooting out of the back here, and we'll just kind of hint at it because what can you do? The spines on the back that it fires off are what actually dispatch the prey. So they're very thin. So there's only so much you can do when you're drawing the horse. But you want to make sure that you get them in there. You don't want to, look like a fool for not putting them in there. You'll be laughed right out of whatever coffee shop or, Walden Books you happen to be sitting and drawing in. And banned from it again. Not that that's ever happened to me. Anyway, so we got this very strong, very powerful coming in the front. Very, very strong. I mean, it's a horse. He's strong. There's a reason people ride him. You don't see people riding chickens. Because they're not. Well, I suppose there's multitudinous reasons why you don't see people ride chickens, but probably one of the biggest reasons is because they're very small and can't hold a human. All right, hooves. Hooves, of course, hooves are made of wood, so you want to make sure you put some knots in there to simulate the wood grain. Skimp on that, and you'll be a laughing stock. You don't want that. A little bit of just hint of the grain on the top because you got a little bit of a highlight there. Get some fur coming off. Remember your light source, which is a fireball over here, probably launched from some sort of trebuchet, which is the natural enemy of the horse, especially in North America. So, just a little bit of shadow under here. Cheating a little bit. This area probably should be in shadow, but see, I don't want to lose what I've got going on here where you can see where the horse is reared up. A little bit of the fur crest on the front that comes in just under these scales, which we're going to draw now-ish. Scales are usually very irregular. The scales, horses use these scales actually. Each horse's scale set, the pattern on it is slightly different. So that's why you can almost never use a horse's iPhone 10 because, it can see this stuff, even in the dark. It's very, very unique per horse. Horses store food in their jowls, so those would be quite pronounced. And horses' ears, which I almost forgot, that would have been embarrassing. Horses' ears typically come straight off the top, like that. They're pointed. Usually there's some matted fur at the end of them. That's because of wax. Horses' ear wax is actually quite intense. It's used in some cultures to make glue or roux for like a soup. Thankfully, that's mostly, the poorer areas of Baltimore is where you see that sort of thing. The poorer areas of Baltimore in which the horse is still indigenous and runs wild. Never hear about that. Everybody wants to go to the inner harbor. Nobody ever wants to go to the horse farms where they milk the horse ears for the roux, for the soup. But, they're there. They're there all right. You're just going to have to take my word for it. All right. So, coming around, I got the horse's nose going on. The horse's nostrils have been increasing in size for the past, 2,700 years. That's so that they can smell danger. The most dangerous animal to the horse is, of course, the skunk. I don't think I need to tell you why, but I will. The skunk burrows underground, and the staple, the main food that the skunk partakes in is rotting horse carcass. And the way that they get them is they dig holes underneath the horse's habitats, and the horses, of course, trip, fall in. It's very tragic. And before they know it, they've had, 3 or more of their 4 or more, usually 6 legs eaten off by skunks. It's horrible. I don't know if you've ever happened upon a horse carcass or a school of skunks taking down what's left of a horse. It's not pretty. It's really not. I don't really wish it on anybody. Horse's eyes, front facing, of course, because they're predators. Horse's eyebrows, the horse's brow ridges, and of course is fringed. So, fringed mane horse has, this is probably the least surprising thing about the fringed mane horse. The mane is, it's serrated. There's probably a better word for that, but on a fringed mane horse, the mane is broken up into chunks like this. Other ear, cannot forget the other ear. Don't forget the matted fur at the end for the earwax. Horses really have goblin ears. The Goblin Anti-Defamation League does not like to be compared to horses, for reasons obvious, but I like to call things as I see them, and for sure these are goblin ears. There's really nothing else you can say about it. Okay, got the fringed mane coming back. Gets a little weird in the back here. Be honest, it's probably just because I'm tired of drawing the mane. Lot of heavy fur on the neck. That's to keep the horse warm. Horse's brain resides in its head, of course, in the 2 spherical skulls, but then also in the back of its neck. There's a different brain And that controls, well, nobody really knows what it controls, to be completely honest. You know, I don't want to get my facts mixed up, so I don't really want to comment. But there's definitely a second brain in the neck. Finish up the scales here. Don't need to draw every scale. You just need to make sure that there's a hint of all the scales. So now I'm going to correct here where I've got I kind of change the angle here a little bit. Horses' chest muscles are incredibly overdeveloped. That's because another way that they take out prey, if their venom sacs happen to be sapped, because a horse has to eat approximately 12 to 13 times its own body weight in one day, so the venom dries up really quickly. And you know, if the spikes on its back need to regenerate, or if the venom sacs that feed the venom to the tail happen to be out, then it's going to have to stomp to death whatever it eats. And that means, of course, you got these hooves in the front. People thought they were for climbing, or for maybe, I don't know, digging at the ground, and possibly for just obliterating skunks, because they don't like skunks. We've already discussed that. But honestly, when you do see the horses use their front hooves, 92.5% of the time, it's because they're taking out some prey that they're getting ready to eat. I'm not going to draw the horse's proboscis because it's retracted at the moment, so you're not going to see it. And again, some zoological books or children's books on horses will have the proboscis out. I have too much integrity. I don't really feel like it makes sense to draw the horse proboscis out, because it just wouldn't be, it wouldn't be here. Finish up this leg here. Gonna have some tendon going on in here. Again, very knobby joints due to arthritic after effects of too much time working in the entertainment industry, evolved over time. Plus, the knobby knees of a horse they were a desirable aspect. So horses were bred that way, to look like that. So let's see. Let's over here. Now the good news is, I'm going to be able to finish this up really quick because I'm fairly lazy. So we're just going to, instead of drawing the actual leg over here, we're going to fake it. Put a little shading in here. There's no shame in it. Well, there's a little shame in it, but luckily I don't care. Also, got the leg over here coming in. Goes back like that, comes forward, and little furry leg. Just a hint in there like that. See a little bit of claw coming in here. Not a lot though. I do, however, want to put a little bit of detail in on this side here. A little bit of just quick little scribbles here, just to kind of indicate a little bit of sculptural sort of roundness. Don't be afraid to make some nice, hard, thick outlines. There you go, there you go. A little bit of fur in here, not too much. You don't want to go crazy. A little bit of that. Really just doing the finishing touches now. Bit of wood grain here. The fringed mane horse was hunted almost to extinction for the valuable wood you can get out of its hooves. That was well before they discovered all the uses for its earwax. So that's pretty much it. There you go. That's a fringed mane horse. Oh, I almost forgot. He's got a demon eye right now. We don't want that. That's just silly. So let's go ahead in here. Horse's eyes are very dark because they're soulless and evil. I'm just going to go ahead and fill that in there, put some highlights in there. Because even though the horse is soulless and evil, there has to be some sort of light source. So there we go. A little bit more shading under the chin. The bioluminescent scales are not going to be affected by the shade. So they are good as they are. I'm just going to kind of do that. A little bit of more definition in the chin here so you can see what's going on. And we're just about done. There you have it. That's a horse. We have drawn a horse. Hopefully you're able to follow along. Just got to sign it here. J.R. Thanks for watching.